Welcome back to Junius Multi channel. Today we take a look at gold in Russia. Thank you for the introduction, Sergey. Yes, welcome to the Junius Multi channel. We are going to take a look at gold in Russia. But first, let's take a look at where gold is today, priced in US dollars. You see it at $13.39 there. It actually breached $13.40 earlier. It's up $16.50, 1.25% today. Silver up 0.29 cents, up 1.73%. I don't want to focus too much of the video on the value of gold, the history of gold as money, as we have about 550 videos on this channel that point to that already. So if you're curious, you can go to the archives, find the gold playlist to get a grasp of where we are when it comes to gold and its role in the human economy. Looking here, we see percentage of world debt by country. United States is so big I can't even get a screenshot to fit the whole thing. Our share of global debt is 31.8%. And don't let the pink there throw you off. That has nothing to do with the softness and effeminate nature of many of the men in the United States. That pink there is a colorization showing the debt as a percentage of GDP. And if I look at the chart that's part of this correctly, that's anywhere from 75 to 100%. Quite high indeed. A lot of other countries on there. Only 3 countries make this list, holding approximately zero debt. And you're going to see why I included this as part of today's discussion. Here you can see the bottom part of the chart there. You've got Japan, 18.8% of the world debt, but they have a 239% debt to GDP. That's why they are yellow. Below them, you see Russia, 0.3%. Very, very, very little of the debt, almost negligible. You could almost not count it. So here we see one of the superpowers of the world that does have a significant military presence and a lot of natural resources. They provide natural gas and oil to Europe. They have a strong footprint on the world economy, and they are indeed a powerful nation. Now, they hold a significant amount of gold. Every time we talk about gold on this channel, we end up at some point discussing Russia, how they're one of the leading buyers. They seem to be really stockpiling gold. And over the last few years, they've been making quite a big splash in the news for their move towards gold. We've seen images here on the channel of Putin holding gold bars. We've talked about Russia's role in the world economy, discussed perhaps their reasons or theories behind why they are stockpiling the amount of gold that they are. And, well, today let's take a walk through. I don't know how these photographs were obtained. Perhaps the individual who took them is stuffed away in a freezer somewhere, his eyeballs scooped out like little balls of ice cream. I don't know. But these photographs could also have been released as part of a propaganda stunt. Perhaps it's Russia showing the world, look, we are ready to play economic hardball. We are ready to monetize our gold, working in a relationship with China. And perhaps this is a way to tell the United States, the debtor nation, the one with the rotting fiat leper currency, that Russia's about to play for keeps and is going to put themselves on the world stage as a very powerful economy. There are over 1,800 tons of gold stored here. And as you saw earlier, Russia is number 6 for gold possession and storage in the world. You can be quite certain that Russia takes this very seriously, and these bars have all been assayed, weighed, inspected quite thoroughly, extensively, to ensure the weight, purity, and authenticity of each bar. They're also inventoried. It looks like they have quite an organized process here in which they inspect and store this gold. Now, what does this mean? What does it mean for us here in America, for those of you over in Europe, or wherever you might be elsewhere in the world, Australia or New Zealand? I'll tell you what I think it means, and I think a lot of people might agree with me. I believe we are moving towards what you might term an economic war. We've seen discussions of currency wars and trade wars, and regardless of what order they come in, both of them eventually escalate and lead to economic war. And economic war, as you know, may and often does lead to war in general. Now, we don't want to be an alarmist or anything, but let's just take a look at the facts. There is information circulating out there. We've covered part of these stories in the past, and here's a couple clips from articles that have been out over the last 6 months or so. Not the complete article, but just portions of them. Russia's accelerated pace of gold bullion purchases began in 2007, with Russian gold holdings now having quadrupled to 1,556 tons at the end of June. In terms of total reserves, Russia now comes in just behind China and has more gold reserves than India, Mexico, and Turkey combined, with a total of nearly $427 billion in reserves. Additionally, Russia is simultaneously pursuing other strategic dollar alternatives besides gold. Russia and China have built a non-dollar payment system for regional trading partners. Gold rush. Russia stockpiling bullion like there's no tomorrow. The Central Bank of Russia has recently been buying bullion at an unprecedented pace, according to Argentine financial expert Gabriel Rubinstein. This policy is aimed at protecting the Russian economy in the event of crisis situations, including against dollar-related, quote, manipulations, unquote, by the United States. This article came out October 14th, 2017. Countries stockpile gold for strategic and defensive reasons. For instance, in case relations between nations are damaged and their currencies lose their value. This was stated by Gabriel Rubinstein, a financial consultant and former representative of the Argentine Central Bank. Gold, this eternal financial resource, has a real value if compared to other financial assets. The Russian government believes that it's better to have more gold resources than dollars. Hypothetically speaking, if Russia holds tons of US dollars and the US wanted to damage its economy, this would be possible through currency manipulations, Rubinstein said, adding that gold guarantees against such a scenario. Yes, Russia is positioning themselves away from the dollar to protect themselves from the dollar. And I think we, part of the stacking community, all of us, can take a lesson here. I think the entire world can. Distancing oneself from the dollar by allocating into the most indestructible form of capital on the planet, the ultimate extinguisher of debt, gold, is a safe haven, not only for nations, but for individuals, for banks, for any financial institution. And we're moving in a direction on this timeline, which is forward. It's the only direction you can go in time, forward. And I do think at some point in that timeline that we are in, that we are moving on, against our control, against our will, or whatever, you and I are moving forward. Time is progressing. We reiterate that all the time. And it seems obvious, but it seems like some people don't really acknowledge it at times. At some point in that time, the U.S. dollar is not going to be the biggest kid on the block, the king, any longer. The debt is going to catch up. Russia knows that. China knows that. I believe most likely the rest of the world knows that. And it's part of the reason I think that we're seeing alternatives to the dollar get so much steam. Now, regardless of your opinion on cryptocurrencies, I believe it's one of the driving forces behind it. Again, the market is not here for the crypto. It's in other parts of the world as well. And I believe people are looking for escape from the dollar, from being exposed to and denominated in US dollars. Now, gold is the ultimate escape for that. This is just, again, a reading on a thermometer. You know, we've got a thermometer and we're looking at it. You could pretend almost for a moment that if the world economy was a patient, there's multiple thermometers that give us different readings. This is one of the signs and symptoms. This is one of the pieces of information that you and I can look at and come to conclusions on. We might differ in our conclusion, or it might just vary somewhat. But I think most of you would agree that even this story, images of Russia's gold, stories of Russia's gold, points to what could be and what may be in store. Globally, locally in your economy, if you're in the UK, if you're in Ireland, Scotland, over there, if you're in Australia, New Zealand, India, Germany, the Netherlands, France, Spain, Italy, Canada, anywhere. This is going to affect, everyone at some point. The thing is, we see debates about the United States gold holdings all the time, right? When was the last time you saw a lot of information coming out in the news about how much gold the United States has, or them stockpiling it? Who actually owns it? The United States government owns this much gold or hoards this much gold. A lot of debate surrounds the ownership of any U.S. gold, if they do indeed own it, or if it's been brokered off to other owners as part of payment for U.S. debts. If there's even gold in Fort Knox, there's talk of that fort being downsized, or troops leaving it, the armor no longer being there, less defenses in place. Well, that would only be done if perhaps they had nothing to protect other than an image. So, one can only wonder and guess how much gold, what truth there is in United States gold ownership versus China versus Russia. But there's definitely pieces moving on the global chessboard, the chessboard of global economics. We're not even pawns. I mean, we're so tiny and minuscule. Obviously, they don't care about us. I mean, they hate my information. They hate this channel. They'd like to get rid of videos like this, statements like this, questioning them, calling them on the carpet for what they are. But, do what you can do. Do what you can with the information you have. Thanks for being part of the Junius Maltby channel. Thanks for supporting the Junius Maltby channel, for liking, sharing, and subscribing, as always, and participating in the comments down below. Don't forget to find me ranting and raving and tweeting madness on Twitter now. That does happen on occasion. Sometimes the topics differ and vary from whatever I happen to be perusing on the net at the time, whether it's prices of certain markets, metals, or my political shots in the dark. We'll just leave it at that. Also, check us out over on Steemit. You know where Steemit is, steemit.com. I know a lot of you have found that and made some progress there. I'd like to welcome the most recent member of our community that I saw on there today, and that was Mimaru. So welcome, Mimaru, to Steemit. If you guys are on there, go give her a thumbs up, a shout out, and a comment, and let her know that she's welcome. All right, I hope you're all doing well, and you're still sticking around the most boring channel on YouTube.